And hello again. Hopefully I am not talking to myself. It looks like I am going to be, but I hope... No idea what's going on with YouTube tonight, but it is really starting to annoy me. So just give me a sec while I fix it for you. Despite having this all set up again this morning, ready to go, tested, apparently it just went and completely uninstalled everything that I did when I created a new stream key. But it won't take me 2 seconds to fix this, just bear with me. As you can probably see on this cue, I just don't understand this stuff. It really does. Okay, give me that. It really does do my head in some days, but anyway, we will get this done. If this is going to fit the screen. All right, so now you should be getting it, hopefully. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, we're lucky we're good at technical stuff, lol. Okay, well, let's go with it. We've had a wet Tuesday, like we said in the forecast. We've had showers streaming down from both directions, from the northwest and the upper levels, and from the surface on the north and sort of northeast. And sort of towards the end of the day, they sort of then pivoted around and sort of moved off, and we were left over with this sort of northerly, northwesterly component. You can see there's a cute little surface low right over near Adelaide, sort of wobbling around. It is starting to lose its contact with this upper trough system, and they'll very soon disconnect. And then the focus will shift across to us, which is what we're supposed to see something on Thursday. I guess we're all going to find out very soon what that will be. But you can see here plenty of activity, and there was some storms earlier to our northwest, so there's still definitely a chance tonight as this stuff does move towards us, and the greater instability in the upper temps, the upper cold air, moves across the coast and taps into that moisture. But anyway, we will catch it out. We're going to now zoom in and quickly look at what's going on in the local areas. We'll stick it onto the last hour or so and watch windy probably have conniptions. You can see how two things have those two layers have shifted quite a lot during the last few hours, and I don't know why it's doing it at 24 hours anyway. And then you can see this massive rain starting to move down there, just to the south of course, because that's where the first initial focus will be, and that will gradually shift to the east and sort of northeast as the system gets closer to the coast. And there's been some good showers around the place today too, but I'm not sure the whole basin got it. We'll have a quick look at that now. And then we'll go and check, I'll update these, refresh these while we're doing it, and then we'll check the weather forecast, and we'll have a look. Alright, so let's have a look at radar rainfall shows us for today since 9 AM. Yeah, there's not a real lot on the coast, and we'll make this bigger again. But the west actually did alright, which is good to see for a change, especially places like Penrith, that sort of stuff who missed out. I think they missed out again today. But really, it was very hit and miss between sort of Parramatta and Penrith. Blacktown looked like it did alright, and then down towards sort of Campbelltown. But again, most places sort of missed it, but then this sort of band right down the middle, and that's quite typical of this event at this stage, quite streaky until things really start getting through. Let's have a look at the OBS for today. 11 mils at OBS Hill though, since this morning is not bad, and 8 mils at the airport. 13 mils at the Mayor of Campbelltown, 12.6 mils at Camden, 12 mils at Campbelltown. It's interesting though, because if you look at that radar rainfall that we just looked at, you wouldn't have noticed those falls around the place. Like Sydney's under white, so I'm not sure. I know what it is. My bad. We'll go and look at Wollongong, because I know Terry Hills was down for a bit today. Oh, I've cut the chat off again. Derp head. It just always throws me this crap when I'm organising. It throws me out. Let's have a look at Wollongongs. We'll see what they accumulate. There we go. That's a bit better of a take. I was about to say it's a bit wetter than that today. Okay, so you can see some good places, falls around the places. A few approaching 20 mils there down to sort of southwest. This is Appen's view of it, don't forget. So there'll be a very limited view around the western and northern areas there, as well as the Appen radar beam sort of heads up towards the heavens, and supplements by Terry Hills. But that's off. It was off for quite a bit today. It went down, but you can see pretty good falls there along most places, except that sort of corridor between Hornsby and Liverpool down that way, pretty including Wentworthville. Mr. Well out there, drier than he should be, but generally speaking, some decent falls across the places, and it's up to 15 mils, especially in the west. We saw that again at those obs. And you can see a lot of the falls down here in the southern Illawarra and also the north-south coast and then the southern Highlands as well, which is, great to see. They really need that, especially down in this area. It's been very dry. And west of the, on the western edge of the Great Dividing Range and the Blue Mountains as well, great to see some good falls there. Wish we could zoom in and see what was happening out further out west. We could probably have a look at it a bit later, but we got stuff to do. Otherwise, that's good to see in terms of those falls. So excellent. And you can see radar. We'll have a quick look at that now because there's a heap on radar. Radar, you derp, not that one. Now that Terry Hills is back up and running, you can see here. And interestingly, you'll note too that there's actually some lightning coming towards us, especially the northern beaches as well. So there is some embedded storms on the way, which I did forecast. And they obviously won't be severe in any respect. This is just, but that's what it is a great sign that the atmosphere is really starting to destabilize. And you can see all this stuff popping up everywhere across the place, which is great. A lot of this stuff will pretty clear out overnight, as I said in the forecast this morning, and that's what the models are showing, but we'll see them very soon. And storms of the coast, again, it's always a good rule of thumb that is wherever you see lightning in this sort of event, especially this time of year, is a good idea where obviously the main instability is, but it's where the action is going to take place sort of as this situation sort of unfolds. And you can see here some off the coast towards us, which is where, the trough, you can see that line already forming, which is that northeasterly feed just starting to sort of wind up a bit, which is great to see, which is what the models did pick, so they've got something right. But this lightning here is a good thing to watch in terms of where activity is. So you can see here it's sort of mid-Hunter, southern Hunter, and almost Central Coast and us. So good sign that there's the trough is forming along here somewhere, and this is the precursor to it, probably the upper levels, even dash down to the mid levels as they head towards the east and they get off the coast. Again, we're not expecting anything from the main system until sort of Thursday. So this is that initial stuff that we saw clear out, and then don't forget we're going to have that bit of a surge, bit of a break in the activity tomorrow, and that bit of a surge again in the northeasterlies and that bit of those southerlies, and then things will start to intensify, and hopefully we will see some activity. All right. Well, this is what we all came here for. We've come here for the money shot, so let's get on with it. We'll go and see now exactly what the models are saying. Of course, we'll do the wind gusts as usual, because that's gives us an idea about the strength of the system, and just in terms of what we can expect. And I'm just going to zoom just out a little bit because I know I don't want to leave too much of Sydney's context, but I do really want to see just how deep those northeasters are. And again, as you can see, what I just said, I'm looking at the rainfall data itself in the radar. I could see that there was that northeasters. You can see just along here, like this sort of line, that there's where those showers are developing, which is that sort of precursor to what we'll see anything popping off there. So we fast forward to now, you'll probably see, bang, basically what I just said to you. I haven't even seen this yet, so this is all fresh to all of us. Now, I think this is 0Z EC2, which is great, perfect timing. No, not yet. So we'll go to, it's just a little bit early from tonight. We will go to, we'll pop in a GFS first. Let's go to GFS first and see what it's got to say. All right, so we are now going to be in GFS. And we know that's definitely the 0Z. And you can see generally already it's the same broad scenario that we saw last night, that deep northeasterly, even a tinge of northeasterly in there. But again, we're not expecting stuff till Thursday, don't forget, or Wednesday night. So this is really just the precursor. But it's good to see, really, and you can see that sort of line of conversions just off the coast, which those showers are forming right now. So GFS has got the broader pattern right, even though I may not get the exact nuances correct. And then let's have a look. So we can just see this here, that northeasterly flow as the system pushes off and clears out, and you can see that weak southerly coming up behind. Now, this is where we start getting into the money shot times. Let's hope we're seeing what we're going to see. So let's have a look at what GFS has got to say. So on Wednesday night, we can see that hook starting to develop. So you can see here, there's northeasters. It's not as strong as we saw yesterday, but again, GFS didn't have them as strong, if you recall. It was more EC and the other models. But generally, the pattern's the same. We can see them building off to the northeast as well, dark greens, and we should start to see the yellows and oranges appear. We can see this hook in the winds, and you can see it basically starts across us and up through into the Hunter. So really, GFS is still flagging that this is obviously where the main action will start. You can see these easterly winds starting to really increase over the western side of the Great Dividing Range, which is also interesting as well. And that just shows you that the approaching sort of system sucking in the air and feeding off it. So that's a good sign. You can see there's really not much happening down here. You can see briefly at the bottom of your screen there, just some light southeasterlies or southerlies pushing up, which is that sort of return flow that we were talking about yesterday. Let's go. So we're putting now into Thursday morning. So now we can see really where the trough is. You can see that real lighter winds just on the coast or just off the coast, which is fine. The northeasterly flow is still not overly significant as we saw last night, but still there. You can see the over the western side of the range. Look at those return winds there, pretty impressive. So that sort of does indicate that the system may still be to the west of the upper part of it anyway, may be still displaced to the west, which is interesting because we saw that low still near Adelaide when we looked at the satellite picture before, which does tend to indicate that there may be another timing issue, and we all love timing issues because it frustrates the crap out of us. But in saying that, we can see those winds hooking around, and we can see here the southerlies and then sort of easterlies, southeasterlies, and a bit of the that easterly component sort of converging into us, and then sort of up the coast, which is that'll be for some decent showers. That's a convergent flow. It's not overly strong though, so its capacity to sort of scoop up moisture and drag it in and then squeeze it over us to actually get some decent rain. Not really there yet, but it's only Thursday morning, so let's see. See those winds starting to pick up now. We can see those oranges starting to pick up, and you can see these darker colours here, which are the stronger winds, actually edging towards us. So that's what we want to see. So clearly we've got a bit of a timing issue on, and here we go. You can really see the bend of the trough now. You can see really it lies. It really does actually focus through now the Illawarra up into the central coast, and you can see the part where it sort of bends around. Well, I call it the Nike flick, but really you can see. But this only sort of here that worries me out here off the coast. You can see really a massive flow well off there, and you can see there's this real area of divergence here, which that does concern because that's really another sort of that's a Tasman low sort of trying to get going here, and so you can see what it does is it splits the flow, but I mean you can see pretty much with your own eyes very much where the trough is lying. That very light area winds there still wrapping in, which is quite good, but you can see here comes that southerly surge that we were talking about. I am going to guess that GFS is not as wet as it has been, but let's see if I'm right in a minute. Or you can just skip on through so we don't take too long. You can see that that sort of split in the flow, that divergent flow that's really ripping away the main northeasterlies and diverting that sort of more into the southern Illawarra and the south coast. But then you can see as that fades on GFS anyway, little spinny things starting to big up here. So a bit of a vorticity, not a low as such yet, because you can see that the winds don't wrap right around the circulation centre, but you can see still some definite indication, and hopefully those who've been paying attention will notice straight away a bit of a shift in the models. If you recall last night, there's two stages where this stuff would form. We saw that sort of Nike flick, and then we saw that like that tongue narrow band of really quite strong to gale force southerlies rip up the coast. It's gone now, and it's replaced by this real deep flow of easterlies, so southeasterly, sorry, and into this. So that's an interesting twist. I mean, there's still plenty of moisture out there, but it's definitely been held well offshore at this stage. Those southeasters will drag some of it up too, but we all know that cooler air is not as good as dragging in moisture as warmer air. But we'll see. And there's definitely a low trying to form now. You can see winds starting to wrap around the centre, still quite weak. You can see this southeasterly sort of surge rather than that southerly surge that we saw. And later too, this is like midday Friday now. And you can see that low is not really developing. And then here comes that really strong sort of southerly surge well into Friday night, which again really flags as a timing issue here. And if you notice something over the Great Dividing Range, most of Thursday we have those east to southeasterlies, really picking up over the western side here. If I show you that of the Great Dividing Range, and then you can really notice pick up the timing when that upper or mid-level system, which is going to be obviously help kick this stuff off, when it passes over, because you watch those winds just fade off and then start to pivot around and swing back. this way. So you can see here what the timing issue is. You can see it now, and then you watch those southerlies inland start to swing to southwesterlies, which very much says again that middle and upper level stuff is delayed or slower than models originally thought, which is obviously going to be interesting to see exactly how that works out. And the other sort of conditional thing to put on anything else sort of from tonight really onwards, put a big asterisk next to it, because then the models start playing catch up, because obviously we move into within 24 hours of the potential system developing, and then we sort of start to look at nowcasting as opposed to forecasting. So this is where we're right in that sort of grey area of no man's land between sort of forecasting and having to move to nowcasting because of that. And it's an interesting shift, and I would say on this outlook alone by GFS, that is a drier outlook and scenario than we've seen it previously run, because you can see those southwesterlies really kicking, and they're going to be dry and cooler, and you can see again the massive trough slash, if it sort of forms a Tasman low, push away and clear the weather out during Saturday, probably Saturday morning, maybe, definitely Saturday morning. You can see once that band of southerlies takes off, there'll still be some stream showers that are up Saturday sort of lunchtime, and then bang, away it goes. So I mean, yes, that's going to be great for our friends up running the boat show. I think it's called the boat show, or the competition, where it is on the, I think it's the Queen's birthday long weekend, up at, I keep forget the name of the place, but up past Winchman, Windsor, there up that way on the river. Tracy and the fantastic establishment that she runs up there. It's pretty good news for her, looking at GFS anyway, but it does look like very much a dry pattern, a signal to me before I even look at the models. Definitely still some showers Thursday and Friday, I'm not saying that these disappeared. Right, let's have a quick look at, let's see what icons going to regurgitate tonight. So we'll just wind it back to Wednesday so we can get the better pattern. We just don't cherry pick like other places do. Right, so let's have a look here. So we're looking at Wednesday, so lunchtimes. We know at Wednesday, so this situation, icon is very much the same as what we're seeing already on GFS. It's a bit more high res, so we'll get a bit more granularity of what's going on. And we can see here very much small circulation here, but that's not a low at all. It's just basically the, a circuit, like a vorticity in the trough, more like just these winds coming in from the northeast and sort of hitting land and sort of just a bit of an eddy. That's all it would be. You can see a very clear demarcation line there, like where the winds stop, and then there's basically not much after it. And what we're looking obviously to see is what happens tonight. So that pushes off, which is good, clears away, and should give some hopefully clear air for whatever's coming through. And you can see those inland winds start to pick up through Wednesday, which is what we expected. And we did expect a bit of a pause in activity tomorrow, which is always forecast. And then we want to see those surge of northeasties, and here they come in the Tasman. And there comes that southerly, and it comes a bit earlier than GFS had it, and you can see it actually connecting very nicely with those northeasterlies off the coast. And you can see it's not a low, it's definitely there. It's just because it's really not wrapping around at any sort of circulation center or vorticity, but you can see definitely that Nike flick as the winds turn around and fold on each other. And then there'll be some convergence and squeezing of the air going along between there. So icon may be a bit wetter, although there is that sort of, again, this sort of breaking of the flow between this sort of Tasman low trying to form down here. You can see that real bump in the winds down off in the sort of central Tasman. And let's get this going so I can use this for you. And then going to, and then sort of wrapping into the stuff to the north as well. So again, not a clean sort of pattern that we want to see. I've got the annotate on now. Let's go. Let's go. I forgot I installed this morning because I was in a rush. You should be able to see that. Beautiful. Now I can draw on the screen for you so you don't watch my stupid mouse just running away. So here's what I'm talking about here. Tasman low trying to form there. You can see the bank in the the wind streams there. And that's definitely what it's trying to do. It's trying to form a Tasman low. But in reality, what we're seeing here is this decent flow here, northeasterlies pushing in and wrapping around, and this is that area of sort of disconnect here that I'm concerned about, because you can see it robs that really nice strong northeasterly inflow there from and feeding the system, diverts a bit of it down to the south coast. But this is only icon and it's only one model, so it's not too much yet to worry about, but I guess we'll see. Let's pop into, I mean, for me this looks like actually a wetter setup for Icon than we've seen in the previous run, so I mean that's a good sign, I guess. But let's have a look what's going in, and we can see here then comes that surge of southerlies they're watching out, and you can see still you can see the trough lying down here, and if I turn my little thing on, you can see the trough here, and that's sort of not a real good position for us to be in, because we're on the return flow here. There's southerlies, which there'll be some stream showers and stuff about, but they're not normally known as great rain producers. This is the area here we want to be on this side of the trough, because this is obviously where those moist northeasterlies full of lovely southern coral sea and northern Tasman Sea moisture are racing in, and then when they run and they scream to a halt in this area here where their box is, that's when they dump their load basically, and then they wrap around, and then they start to wrap up again, and they can pick up a little bit of moisture here, but there's not a lot of surface for the winds to pick up as they head into the Hunter. So really not the best situation if you want to see rainfall. In fact, you'd be lucky along the coast here, for example, maybe there'll be some showers, but really the area to be is in this sort of zone here, where the stuff does cease its run, wraps around, folds over, and then gets sucked up into the trough, and the air is squeezed, and that's obviously where the greatest instability and sort of convergence will be as well. So, but Icon was never sort of much our friend last night. We saw that, so we'll just see going ahead. But let's have a look at it Friday. Again, you can see a bit of a better pattern actually now. We can see because finally this area here, which is obviously the area we want to look, is starting to be connected with this northeasterly flow. Now, is it too little, too late? I guess we'll find out when we look at the rainfall pattern. But you can see here now on this scenario alone, still the primary focus of the showers will be definitely off the coast here, but it's going to allow some moisture at least to come in. But you see how strong these winds are here. And of course, what it's going to do is it's going to drag a lot of that moisture we just saw up into the Hunter and sort of avoid us. So that's obviously one of the problematic things about this forecast going forward. And you can see here now a very deep trough forming a beautiful, in fact, almost a perfect example of a good trough in terms of it's really organised now. You can see there's one flow on the backside. In fact, I'll change that to blue. I think blue's not used very well. You can see the one side there, so the western side wrapping up of those southerlies, the cooler southerlies feeding that cool air in, and you can see the northern side or the eastern side feeding in that lovely Coral Sea and Tasman Sea moisture, and then you've got the trough sitting right down here and backing out there, and you can see the greatest area is obviously this is where most of the activity will be in that sort of box. So it'd be windy with some sort of stream showers and stuff on this side, but looking to Friday night, it's not looking overly promising on Icon. Again, I'll stress. So before we get morose, let's have a look at what quickly, and we can see you see that real band as that just clears out, and then those west southwesterlies kick in and flush it all out to the coast. So pretty much what we saw from there, it's the period of sort of Wednesday to Friday yet is still up and down. This could be the best case of gas line we've ever seen in history. Could be. All right, let's have a look at year-older access now and see what it's got to say for itself. So we want to spell the surprise. Let's go back to here. All right, so it really does at this stage match what we've seen in terms of everything. We can see that bulge to the just to off the coast of us, which is helping those showers form, and then we'll just go into Wednesday and see what it is. Access is taking some time to upload, which is interesting. You can see here again, weak surface trough here, coastal trough just off the coast, but you can see that stuff to the west that we were hoping to see really not looking like the other models yet, which is an interesting scenario. So let's pop into Wednesday lunchtime. And again, you can see the stuff well displaced. Gee, windy's really lag. You can see this stuff up here, which is that sort of upper system sucking the air, and you can see probably the mid-levels, I'd say, at this stage, looking at that without actually going too far into it, pulling up the layers. But again, so you can see Axis has a different scenario to what we've seen in GFS and Icon, and you can see here quite, what is it doing? It's not really, it's really laggy, windy is. So we're just going to make sure we get the actual right time model, because you can see it before your eyes is actually changing the scenario as we're kicking through. Okay, so I think we've now got 0Z. Let's have a look, because that has just changed. Yeah, and see, it's 3 hours ago, so there's no reason why it should be doing that. But the good thing about that, okay, so we can see here, first of all, that system is still obviously west of the Great Dividing Range, because you can see this, the southeasterlies here, and then, you know, reasonably moderate here, sort of flying towards that northwest. If I was to zoom out, which I'll just do quickly, you can see the reason why. There's the activity coming through. There's that beautiful deep northeasterly flow that we want to do. But, whoa, come on, Axe, windy, like, whoa. Okay, we'll have some conniptions. It'll load eventually, I guess. Let's go back, maybe that might force it to, there we go. Just the one time, so I didn't like it. The good thing about that, I'm just going to turn annotate on now, because this is the encouraging that Axis has not had so far. If you recall yesterday's Axis, it really had all this stuff off the coast. It didn't really have that. We've got this, that Nike flick starting to happen. And not so much in the Illawarra, although you can see just here, there's a little bit of it here, but really flowing into us and the sunny coast and the sort of southern Hunter, and feeding into this approaching system, which is up here. So if you're wondering what I'm yapping about, keep an eye on those winds there. But you can see here, but still, there's a little bend in the winds here, which is sort of diverting a bit of that sort of the stronger flow to the south here, which is I'm talking about here. But still, there's still a good band coming in from the northeast there. So that's, you know, that's a good sign for in terms of Axis, because if you remember last night didn't have that. All right, let's hop into Wednesday night. You can see what's happening. Here comes that upper system. And you can see the wind still hooking in, although not as strongly. You can see a bit of the wind still diverting to that southern coast area. And then you can see here, I swear I'm on wind gust, but I'll double check that in a minute. But you can see here now the pattern, which is this, the Nike flick. Now, you'll also notice, the first thing is it's, you know, nicely forming into us, which is great. This would be good, but then you've got this again, this disconnect coming down here. And you can see this big blob of most of the strongest air, the wings, which is that fuel for the activity, just spliced to the southeast again, and then sort of dying just off the coast here. So you can see this trough backs around here, so it curves around into the sort of south coast here, and then you can see that southerly return southerly flow, as I mentioned, just starting to sort of develop. And you can see here the inland system getting a lot closer over the last few frames. As it pushes towards the coast, you can see those winds pick up dramatically, which is great. That obviously that's quite strong, but again, it looks like it's going to be a real timing issue, which is going to be incredibly annoying for all of us. But it is what it is. We'll see what it's going to say. Let's have a look coming up to. Let's see what Access. First of all, let's hope it updates, because it's windy as. Here we go. So it's looking very much like, wait till that picture updates before we form judgment. I don't know why windy is so jaggy, but it looks like it's updated before I turn it. I think so. Yeah, looks like it is. Okay, so you can see again, this, all three models have had it, and that very much flags a timing issue. So you can see the surface stuff issue is off here, already excited. The upper level, mid-level stuff is here, because you can see those winds picking up and still going from the south east to the northwest sort of thing. But you can see the bend starting to appear just at the top top left-hand corner here, which is that as the upper trough or mid-level trough, depending on what it ends up being, is approaching. You can see that just that vorticity or that curvature just starting to appear, and that's definitely, you can still see there the winds which are bending around, which is great. But the problem is, there's not. Most of the moisture has been diverted away from us. So there's a bit what we call divergent flow here, just off the coast, and that's obviously what all the models are flagging. The thing about axis is it still has enough flowing through, but you can see here pretty northern beaches, maybe a bit of a cutoff here. So my guess that axis will probably be wet from here to about here. Let's see how close I am for the rainfall stuff. Here will be okay to about here, but this area here will be drier than what it normally have. In fact, it'll probably be a whole decent sort of rain here, but it won't be that heavy, to be honest. We'll see how close I am in my predictions, but we'll get rid of that and then form on. Let's go on and just see what it's going to show us. We'll get to the rainfall. You can see that that area of the coast really diverting the flow, and then you can see it comes back again as a bit of a vorticity here. Now that's pretty the closest we're seeing to a circulation developing. You can see the winds almost wrapping around the whole of that circulation, but not yet. You can see quite a complex situation. So you've got an area divergence down here, and you've got this troughy / low set up here. You can see definitely a good flow wrapping around here. So there's definitely some moisture flowing in there into Friday. And as we push into Friday lunchtime, let's hope that updates. It looks like it has. Again, you can see this disconnect really forming down through here, which will cut off a lot of the good moisture and leave us sort of with a drier, but not dry, but a drier sort of southeasterly regime, and then you get this southerly wrapping in on the back end side. I would say that axis, of course, is going to be pretty much what we saw last night, which is still some showers about, but not anywhere near what we saw in terms of other models. In fact, you can see really you can see that that change here Thursday night into Friday. You can see that as that here pushes down, that sort of surge and that sort of surface part of the trough here pushing down, you can see watch those winds in the west of us swing around now to the north, to the south, so you can see already, and then they push across the coast. You can see they start to swing around to that west, southwest, and in comes those southwesterlies, and then of course off the coast goes access for very much similar, and you can see some gusty winds Saturday on the reverse side of this system. So far GFS, Icon and Axis pretty much all agreeing in terms of the general sort of flow and pattern, although I think Axis is probably, out of the three of them, looking pretty the wetter one, which is interesting, but again pretty marked shift for what we saw last night. Alright, let's quickly see if EC has updated, and then we'll look at quickly what it says, and we'll get to the rainfall stuff so we don't muck around anymore. Alright, EC, have you updated? Yes, it has updated. Yeah, here we go. Alright, let's strap ourselves in. Can EC be the last saviour for us? Not saying it's all over Red Rover, but of course, we're getting very close to that line where it's models will lose, obviously, resolution because they're playing catch-up, but we will see. Alright, let's go into, or leave the annotation off here and pop into so we can just see what's going on quickly. We can see basically EC not so much matching what we've seen so far already in all the other three models. And you can see that slight flick, and you can see those northeasterlies building now off the coast into Thursday. Alright, so already we've got a completely different setup to what EC is showing us. First of all, it doesn't have okay, so where's my annotation gone? Here we go. It doesn't have that broad deep northeasterly feed that we saw the other mix, but in saying that, it doesn't also have that real area of discontinuity, or the divergent area, or the focus just off the coast. It actually still has the focus pretty much close on the coast. And you can see here it wrapping in towards the coast. There's that little part here which we'll need to watch. In fact, this area sort of down here is, if anything, you'd say that's pretty where the trough is looking to form. But still, it's converging into us. You can see here the winds are pushing up through the whole basin. So EC still has what looks to be some good showers through on Thursday at this stage. Let's have a look. We'll go out of here and then just skip through it a little bit because we want to get to the rainfall itself, see what's going on. You can see here, it doesn't. The strongest winds still stay right off the coast, but at least we still have a northeasterly flow, so there's still moist, warm air popping down into this, and then you can see it actually sort of shifts a lot of the focus up onto that mid-north coast. You can see in northern and from the Hunter north, you can see again a real break in the pattern, and this is pretty much different to the other three models. So again, you can see here, look at that flow up into there, and then you can see this quite marked split here. So this from us sort of down in this useless sort of drier southerly, and from the sunny coast up, and so the sunny coast is sort of the very southern edge of this circulation. The Hunter has some good wrapping in here, and EC absolutely loves the mid-north coast, which is the only model at this stage to do that. So again, this is ridiculous because it's, I think so close to the event you'd start to get some sort of commonality amongst them all, but nope. And this is a completely different scenario to what we've just seen to the other three models. So and then, I mean, you can see here automatically a strange take. Okay, so EC's like doing this dirty here. So you can see here, what is going on? You can see here that area that we saw before is pushed now south. You can see some good wrapping in of moisture right around here. You can see these southerlies are probably going to maybe keep some of the better showers off the coast, but in saying that, we don't have the gale force tongue of southerlies yet that we saw other ones, so there's a chance that some of that moisture can push on shore. You can see there is definitely some pushing in on shore of that stuff. So there's still going to be some on EC. At least there'll be some good rainfall or showers at least in that area. Massive broad fetch all those winds, so that's a good sign in terms of moisture, but it's not as organized. You can see these little spot all across the area there. It just goes to show that it's not as organized, which means there's a real disconnect between the surface and the mid and upper levels, again, which is obviously a bit concerning because you really want those to hook up if you're going to have a decent self-sustaining event or even just a moderate event happening. If you get this sort of spotted look, very much indicates that there's a disconnect between the surface and upper stairs, which again points to a timing issue, which none of us want to see going forward. All right, let's get on with the EC. Bit of a turn, and you can see that southerlies push through, and then pretty much the same pattern as we saw with every other model. That real gale force band, sort of lower level southerly jet, if you want to call it that, which is develops and of course into Saturday, where you see those west southwesterlies really push in and push everything off the coast, which is what we sort of said the whole time, and then clears it out. So Saturday will dramatically clear from sort of cloudy and bits and pieces and maybe some showers hanging around, to basically fine and partly cloudy within the space of an hour or two on this, which is, I'll always love that sort of effect. All right, now we get to see the big, let's have a look. We'll zoom into the rainfall now. Let's have a look at that. We won't muck around too much more. All right, we'll keep the sunny coast in and we'll get just focused on us. We don't need to have any more. Let's go here. All right, so we'll start with the latest joiner to that. We'll go rainfall accumulation here. So in saying that, next few hours you can see, we'll put the forecasted weather on. So the figures you'll see now under the suburb names are actual rainfalls. So you can see we did forecast, we did warn you about the gap tomorrow, pretty much picked up EC. Definitely some things up to the northern sunny coast there into the Hunter, which is not surprising given that we saw that was where the sort of focus does. Let's push into Thursday now. So there we go. That's a better picture. I mean, pretty widespread, 25 to 35 mils across most of the basin, not anywhere near as big as we saw. So again, a bit of a back down here, but we did flag that, but still it's some falls, what we expected, better than we expected. I was looking at, let's go into Friday now. Again, some pretty good falls actually. It's pretty not bad, uniform. You can see, as I said, that Hunter and sort of northern sunny coast area, we did flag it up to 80 there. Not surprising. That's where that sort of, we saw that Nike flick sort of focusing on. And then we start to see it push down the coast, which is good. Illawarra looks like it's going to miss out on this one anyway, you see. But still, pretty good there. 30 to 50, 60 mils, by Friday night. Still better than nothing. I think what the other models are going to show us. And then into Saturday, we're not going to see much different, to be honest. Going out, and that will be the end of it, I think. Well, let's have a look. Better make it actually current as of the data. Let's go. So you can see, really EC sort of backed off to about 60 mils now on the coast, and about up to 40, nearly 50 in the west. And nothing sort of flagged coming through after that, which is interesting. Which is not surprising, a bit of a dry week. I wonder why it keeps flicking between dates. Oh, you know why? Because it's probably still refreshing in the background. That's why it's changing. That makes things annoying, doesn't it? Anyway, because you can see here, if I go manually there and then I change it, and it actually drops. Like, you can't, on an accumulated fall, lose rainfall accumulated. It doesn't suddenly disappear. That says to me that there's a bit of mix of 18Z and 0Z on here, unfortunately. Sounds like Windy's still downloading the image files for that, but we'll come back and maybe revisit that quickly. All right, let's have a look into GFS. We won't spoil the surprise. We'll go into tomorrow night what we did with these. Okay, so GFS here, widespread 20 mil falls, basically 10 to 20 mils, which is different because we did say tomorrow would be a bit drier. So that's 20 mils is nothing. But probably, I think that most of that's pretty picking up for tonight. Let's have a look at that, and then you push through to most of tomorrow. Doesn't back up a little bit, so it's most of it tonight. All right, now let's factor in Thursday stuff. We'll just drag to Thursday night. So there you go. It's pretty much what I expected. GFS was a lot drier. Still, up to 30 mils on the coast. Still only 20 mils. Hopefully pushing into some areas into the west, but that's a lot drier, and that's not surprising. Better rain comes on Friday from GFS, as we flagged already. That convergent areas and that where the winds start to bend on shore, that was the greatest on Friday. So sunny coast looks alright, up to 50, 60 mils there. And again, what I showed, the northern half still looks good, 40 to 50 mils there at least, which is still nothing to be complained about. And then I said south of that sort of line would be the poorer cousin, and it does look like it's still 40 mils there, and up to 30 mils in the west and south is still better than nothing. Given what we saw. And let's go into Saturday now. I don't expect there's going to be much change. Yeah, let's go to Saturday night, because GFS did actually push it out, don't forget, a bit further. So really it's winding up the event sort of 30 to 60 mils, I think. Better than nothing, I think, but it's definitely a massive downplay in what we saw. All right, let's go and have a look now at what Icon. I think Icon will be the driest out of... Well, actually, it's going to be a race between Icon and Axis, I think. So who's the dry? So again, don't forget Icon's only like a limited term, a little 5-day model. So you can see already it's dry. Although this is Wednesday, so there wasn't much tomorrow. Again, sort of generally uniform, almost 10 mil across the basin. Not bad, I guess, for a dry day. Thursday night, let's go there. Not much more. And I did say Icon was the dry one. You can see here that focus up to north. It did pick up on Friday, so let's see if it does actually give us a bit of a burst on Friday. I wonder why it's flicking like that. This is supposed to be accumulated, so it should not be changed like that. Like, it should stay that colour. Let's have a look. Portland, that's where Tracy and her great company are. I do remember that now. So it's 7.3. So you think by Friday night it should say, oh yeah, it's 9. It's just the colours are weird and they're changing. I think maybe it gets adapting because it's so heavy off the coast here. It's must be a dynamic sliding scale. But you can see here, as I flagged, Icon does hug the coast. Doesn't actually bring much more into the west at all. So I think that our Portland crew will be very happy to see this. In some respects, probably not in terms of flush and river out, but in terms of river levels and it's just river usability, it's going to be a good bit. Icon definitely is the poorer cousin. Up to 32 mils maybe on the coast, maybe 35 mils, but pretty much a desert inland from that. Sunny Coast and Hunter are doing very well, but we all thought that was always the case, and Icon was not much difference in terms of everything we've seen so far. All right, let's go into Access, the last one. I think this is probably going to be the driest out of the lot, to be honest, what I just saw before. But anyway, Wednesday was always flagged to be a bit drier, so we can see here, nearly 10 mils uniform across the place, which I think most of it will be tonight. I think if I was to change it for you now, you can see, yeah, most of it's tonight. into tomorrow morning and then clears. All right, so now this is the big killer. Let's go Thursday. Yeah, so decent. It's up to 30s on the coast and still some good falls, nearly up to 20s pushing into the west. So that's better than nothing, I guess. Some decent falls over the eastern side of the Blue Mountains, which indicates that sort of onshore flow and some orographic effect. Let's go into Friday. Not much change at all. And I did flag, say the icon axis is probably going to be the driest, and that's pretty much what it's showing. And let's go into Saturday. No change at all. So a pretty dynamic shift since last night, and Axis was, let's be fair, if this comes off the way it is, Axis did lead the way last night. It was the only one who was flagging this, but I don't know. It's such a dramatic turnaround. It's questionable what's going on. It's clearly a timing issue. Weird. But anyway, let's have a look at what the ensembles are saying now, because that will be interesting. I mean, some good stuff pushing in now, some lightning coming in, so fingers crossed this does it good for us. Right, so we're going to have a look at I've actually got the both ensembles now for the coast and also the west, so we have to see the difference. This is obviously for the coast, and this has not updated since this morning. Let me just refresh that. I don't know why I did refresh it before I hit that, but because you can see the line here is from this morning. So, okay, there we go. All right, so interestingly, so it's still flagging some reasonable showers tomorrow, but not what we saw in terms of that. And you can see here, if I just put the annotate on, Meteor Blues, the actual cross section of the air, which is what this is, picks up very nicely. If you look in here, the change of the air mass, you can see here that tweak coming in from Wednesday into Thursday, and you can just see that's quite different to what we saw in those mid levels. And I think that's what the issue is. There's a huge timing issue, because then the air is pretty cold up there. We got -12, and so this, and moisture is pretty reasonable. You can see down here, in terms, humidity is definitely moist. You can see these cloud here, pretty thick cloud all the way up through the column, but is that slight change into more sort of northerly here when we were hoping to be northeasterly, and you can see the northeasterly comes in just that little bit too late in terms of that. So it definitely flags that there's a timing issue here between the sort of upper level, mid-level stuff and the surface. But this is the Meteor Blue model. This is not the ensemble. So now we'll look at the ensembles, and then we'll go across. So here's the ensembles. I'll put the annotate back on here. And we'll see really what two key things here. You can see already, for those who saw last night, pretty massive drop, almost 100 mils in accumulated falls. And then you can see here, though, there's still, this is the interesting thing, there's actually more models now on the ensemble run. They've actually gone up into that 80 mil plus to 100 mil plus, 120 mil plus fall, even though the outliers, which is that the highest falls, so those biggest falls have dropped, but now there's actually more models on the ensembles actually pushed up into that sort of consistent area. So I find that very hard to fathom. And this is the area here, obviously, we're looking about. I find it very hard to fathom how the deterministic models have sort of dropped everything. I mean, there's definitely a clear signal in a downgrade in the actual rainfall totals. Now, whether that's because, obviously, as I said, we're getting too close to the event and models play catch up now, or there is a definite shift in pattern, which I think there is definitely a shift in pattern in terms of the timing, whether it's all over. But, I mean, in looking at that, you can see here the blue slab of rainfall is actually more consistent than what we've seen in days. So all the ensemble model runs, which is GFS, EC, and some other model members, as well as the Meteor Blue model, are really all coming into alliance and agreeing of these falls. What they're saying is that the extreme falls that we saw the other day are now gone, but there's some sort of consistency, uniformity here about in terms of the actual rainfall itself. So I don't know. It's interesting. So whether the deterministics, so the ensembles are starting to suffer that what I talked about yesterday was that lag. They're slow to react to, where situations get dynamic, or there's a very sort of a split in, for whatever reason. This could be it, or they are, they've nailed it, and the deterministic models, which is the ECGFS ones we saw before, sort of wobbling around all over the place because they're having troubles in working out the timing of these systems coming through. I guess we'll see that as it sort of evolves, I guess, again. But it's Sydney, so we could see the one of the international leading examples of gaslighting coming up, or it could throw a wobbly at the last minute and dump it all on us. It's definitely possible. The thing I wanted to quickly point out as well, in the ensembles, which is the two things. Look at this. Well, I'm going to turn this off so I can scroll down for you. Look at this drop in humidity here. So you go in cloud cover, you can go here from quite a very humid, unstable environment to basically, and that's what I was telling you about, that sort of that massive dramatic sort of turn from sort of cloudy to nothing in almost an hour or 2 hours. And here you can see it goes literally from at about lunchtime on Saturday, from really being like cloudy with some showers around, to zero, like almost, well, in fact it says not zero, it says literally blue skies with maybe some field of cumulus, like literally within space of an hour to 2 hours. So I mean, that's going to be incredible to see. I love that, seeing that. But at the expense of us losing out in rainfall, meh. But yeah, I mean, and after that, the other thing I want to show you here is look at this downward trend in temperatures post this system, all well below 20, mid-teens, or 15 degrees, maybe 16, 17, but perhaps even lower than that. There's some cold, dry air coming through, and you can see these min temperatures. Like, don't forget, this is on the coast, and you're talking about sub 10, which is where most of the models are for Sunday night, Monday, and even Saturday night, Sunday morning. Sub 10 degrees on the coast is incredibly interesting, and the strength of the air mass pushing through. Like, obviously it's going to be quite strong because it's going to just basically boot out this whole moisture and this trough basically off the coast within a space of 2 hours, if you look at this model. So interesting there. Let's have a look now. We'll go to Penrith, and I will just refresh it to make sure we've got the latest, because we haven't got the latest there. And you'll see again pretty much a consistent pattern in terms of this, not so much as a marked drop in cloud as much as the coast is, but pretty close to it. Again, this uniformity in the precip, or the rainfall stuff here, that's it's fascinating, because either, as I said, which models have got it wrong, I guess we're going to find it very soon. But when you see a good slab like that with those dark blues, and which is this is a layer, so the lightest blue is the first model, and then you have another blue on top of that, another blue on top of that. So when you get these darker colors here, that's basically all models saying between 2, 4 up to 6 mils an hour across Thursday into Friday and early Saturday. That's some pretty good rainfall. And it makes sense then when you see these accumulated falls here jump up in these little skip ups there, which is incredibly always reflective of these rainfall events. You'll have these sort of heavy falls and sort of banding as they move through and accumulating. So I just find that it's going to be a real interesting test, this one, regardless what happens. And I just really hope it's not the gaslight of the century. But it is what it is. Weather's weather. We don't control it. But it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top here, where it's the ensembles, or again they've shown that they just don't adapt quick enough to pick up shifts in patterns, or it's a deterministics, getting one sort of batch of dodgy data and running off screaming into the corner like a bunch of drag queens, wailing, gnashing their teeth and that sort of stuff. So the contrast is incredibly vivid right tonight. We've got one saying, yep, still going to rain, you're still going to get some decent falls, maybe not as scary stupidly as we saw before, but not as dry as the models are making out. So that is it in a nutshell. It's going to be a fascinating period of time. All right, I'm going to stick up the radar for us, and we can go back and have a look at that. I'll zoom back in a bit more to relevant to us. So we can see, you can see still some rain, definitely lots of showers and stuff coming across us with some embedded thunder and for sure some embedded storms. And I wouldn't be surprised at this mass that we're seeing here coming across from the Candos area, around this area here. Get some thundery stuff and that, as it seems to be as it gets near the coast. You can see it's firing up. Sunny Coast is about to get some embedded thundery rain soon. They may see a flash or not. You may just hear the rumble. I mean, the pluses on here equal cloud to ground lightning, and then you have little squares actually cloud to cloud lightning. So you can see there's plenty of pluses there. So definitely some strikes getting out of the cloud and hitting the surface. So it will be interesting to see. But in terms of that, wow, what an interesting sort of night tonight. Anyway, let's get to your questions. And hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience earlier. We worked out, we got it started. G'day, Mr. Well. G'day, Funky Diva. G'day, Mr. Sharp, Mayor of Camden. G'day, Barry on the Central Coast. Lovely to see you. And Rachel, g'day. They're down there in downtown CBD, Sydney. Hope you're well. Hello, Bob's your uncle. Giddy up as well. Lovely to see you. And let me go down and down. It's a Monday, Tuesday night. Mr. Brayley. So I always say Bailey. I always forget to see the R next to your name. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. And Naz 967. Good to see you as well. I hope you are fabulous. The base in Forcefield. Yeah. Hello, Susan. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Good. Thank you for popping down and saying hello. Let's go. Other thing I meant to mention too on the stream, just for tomorrow morning, I think there's still very much that chance of that fog, and very thick fog too. So just be aware that if you're traveling anywhere early in the morning or flying out, for example, or that sort of stuff, there's likely to be pretty significant transport impacts if that does come off as forecast. And it did show it persisting. Even Access C had it persisting till like 8 or 9 o'clock, which is pretty interesting. But EC had it sort of persisting till 10 o'clock, which is interesting in itself. But yeah, so just be aware of that in the morning. I'll try and when I hop on look for any, obviously the road weather alerts. But it is. We'll keep an eye on that. Mr. Yates, lovely to see you. Drone Meister downtown there. Oxy Mrs., lovely to see you. Welcome. Good to see you. Who's not here tonight is our lovely friend Owen. I wonder where he is. 55 questions at miles an hour, but love answering his questions. And that, by the way, as even in the background as we're yapping now, I can see those showers are really starting to thick up, which is great to see. And some fresh bolts just to the north of us. And as I just said, the frame before that, I think we'll see some lightning activity, or at least hear some thunder tonight. Good chance. No sort of one location, we can see anywhere. So just be prepared for it. I go camping. Lovely to see you. Fresh off being his fabulousness up there in the Northern Beaches. Andre Chizin. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but lovely to see you. Probably was Sean. Lovely to see you. Mr. Preston. Looks like there might be a bit wetter up your way. Swings and roundabouts. Looks like it's gone back to being your friend and not our friend. But we'll see what happens again. It's gonna. Dan get a drink. Yeah, I think you guys. I think Dan will get a drink. I think that's even if the forecast rainfall doesn't necessarily eventuate exactly, there's still some good showers pushing across over the next few days. What it is, it's still there. It's just off the coast, Sean. The trough is. It's just about wobbling back and forward, and where it lands, nobody knows at this stage. Not even the models. Mr. Yates. Oh, good evening, Mr. Yates. Lovely to see you. Barely. Yep. Thunder in Gloucester's not surprising. Just said that. Brolly to work. Rachel. Yes, I would definitely take that. And the boat races are at Dargle. Okay. Is that up Dargle? Is that up that way? I thought that's Portland way was where it is. Maybe Dargle was near Portland. I'm not sure if it is my... Please forgive me, I have really quite no idea. Lower Port, sorry, it's Lower Portland. I always forget to put the lower part in. Lower Portland, that must be Dargle, is it near Cola Heights up that way? I know that's where Tracy is up that way. But anyway, all right, that's it. I think that's probably about enough of me waffling on. We've seen pretty comprehensive update. Fascinating times ahead. I hope we wake up in the morning and we have a much better idea about what the hell is going on, because clearly it doesn't know it. And it's distressed. It's just annoying for everybody to see that it can't make its mind up. Sad, but it is what it is. It's the weather. We don't control it. That's the best thing about it. That's why we all love it. Alrighty, I am going to say good evening. Lovely to see you all. Oxy I think Oxy is Lower Porton. Lower Porton. Dargle. Okay, there you go. And that must be Tracy. Lovely to see you. If it is you, Tracy, hopefully I'm not misgendering you or whatever it is these days the term is, but lovely to see you. And yeah, I mean, I want to see the rain, but I also hope it doesn't get that so you can have your event, because I know last year was washed out by exactly almost a similar sort of situation with logs and stuff floating down, and it was very frustrating because you put all that effort into it. So this year, let's hope that's not the case. So let's hope there's a compromise we can work out. I'm sure it's something we can come to an agreement, Tracy. I'm sure we can come to an agreement, put something in writing for you. Otherwise, I'm going to shut up, get going. Thank you so much for your company. Definitely on tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Whether it's good news, bad news, we'll keep you updated throughout this event, whatever happens. And in saying that, again, appreciate you all. Have a great night. I can hear my dinner's just gone ding, which means it's finished cooking, which is great. And I better go and pick the better half up. Otherwise, again, I'll be in the divorce court. Laters, thanks so much for your company. Take care, look after each other, and catch you in the morning. Alrighty now.